Next up, I have for you your individual curriculum. This is a newer resource as well, and it is for trauma. So, unfortunately, we have so many students struggling with trauma, and that's why I want you to be well equipped to work with these kiddos. And why you should use the planned curriculum when it comes to a sensitive topic like this, or just individual counseling in general. Transformation takes place with structure. So, if you're just having the kids come in, let's just chat, your sessions are gonna fly by and you're not really going to have anything to show for it. So when you have more structure on like objectives, okay, we're going to work on this. This is the outcome we want to achieve. This is how we're going to get there. This is what I want the students to learn from this session. Then you're really going to start to see some transformations take place, which is the whole reason we're here, right? It's also ASCA aligned, and of course, I give you opportunities to track data. So it's a complete curriculum. You can see here kind of a snapshot of everything that's involved. There's journals, there's the activities, there's data tools here as well. You get 2 feelings check posters to start off, so depending on the age level of the child you're working with, you can pick the poster that works best for them. And I give you a counselor's guide. So I give you like a general individual counseling guide on best practices that I recommend, but then I also give you your guide on the mindsets and behaviors and your objectives. And I have also some supplemental videos here if you want to decide to share those with your student about childhood trauma and how it affects the brain. So go ahead and watch that one first solo before you share it with the student to make sure it's a good fit. And you'll get a trauma definition poster you can hang in your office or the child can keep in their notebook. And then 5 activities. So I'm going to break down these activities more specifically. First up is a mindful mandala and progressive muscle relaxation. So just pay attention to the first page here. The back one is something different, but it's a mindful mandala. So we're just talking about how trauma can make you feel many different emotions, and they're going to color the mandala in using the cube below based on the ones they're experiencing. So maybe they're experiencing all of them, maybe they're experiencing some, and they can kind of scale it. So for example, if they're experiencing mostly anger, maybe their mandala will be mostly red and then have a little bit of fear or a little bit of sadness. So it's really interesting to see, what they choose, and you can then talk about this. So all of these activities serve as like a guide, as a starting point for you and the student, and then you can always dig deeper. I include 5, but I don't assign them in any certain order, so you can decide, pick and choose which activity you want to use when. That'll best fit your students' needs. After the mandala, there's a progressive muscle relaxation. So there's a script here, so you can either read the script and they can practice, or there's a more visual version here talking about for the younger students how they can just take deep breaths, start at their feet, and work all the way up to their head. So you can choose which one you want to do. If you have a little student, it may be difficult for them to kind of sit through the script. So just base your audience. Then we have a coping strategies board game for the second activity. So this one's fun. They roll a die, and depending on where they land, they answer the corresponding cards. So these are talking about different coping strategies and hobbies they can, choose or use whenever they're processing their trauma. Then there's a positive affirmations craft and think sheet. So they're going to, rearrange these affirmations, cut them out, and you can laminate these and keep these in your office because you can use them for self-esteem, all kinds of stuff as well. But put them all on the table, and then they can write different positive affirmations. And this is so important because, like I said, I've already showed you the mandala, but look at the left-hand side. We want them to know that they don't equal their trauma, and we want them to write those affirmations there. So they're going to write on the clouds, things that happened about their traumatic experience, but then they're going to write on the body there in the head who they are and how that doesn't define who they are. It's just something that happened to them, but it's not who they are. So that's really important. So you can do the affirmation, scramble first and then the worksheet, or the worksheet first and then the affirmation scramble. Next up is a support systems craft. So I love this one. You could just do the worksheet where they do their roots and their shoots. So the roots are the coping skills that they want to use, and the the shoots, the things that are shooting out the top, the limbs are their coping skills they want to try, and then the roots are those people that are their support system, really rooting them down. So you can have them just write on the sheet, or if you want to get a little more creative, you can cut these out and they can make a very big tree. It's like a cool craft that they can do, make a poster. And then the Better Days Ahead Mad Lib. So this is like a Mad Lib style game. I used to love those when I was a kid. But basically they can go through these cards and then they're going to match them to the different things. So they're going to put their name, but then coping skill 1, they're going to pick a coping skill. And it says there, like, name one coping skill you will use. Write it on number 2. What is one thing you enjoy doing? Write it on number 8. So they follow the cards, and then they're going to write it in on the sheet. And then at the end, they'll have a little story to read. And then there are 5 journals included. So you can see a close-up of journal 3 here, and then also on the right-hand side, there's journal 2 in the back, the print version. So after each session, maybe give them 5, maybe even 10 minutes to really process their journal. Or they can do the journal portion at home and then kind of bring it to you to show. I had a student do that before as well. And then, of course, I provide you with data tracking tools. So I provide you with 3 tools: a student rating scale that you can see on the left here. So that's what the student will be doing each session. They're going to write the date, and then they're going to kind of rank how they're feeling. Of course, you're going to do your feelings check, but this is in addition to that. They're going to be ranking how their traumatic experience is impacting them that day. And it's so important to let them know we're not looking for linear progress here. We're just reflecting. Some days it's, impacting us a lot more. One day we might not think about it very much. These are where those conversations are going to start. You could say, wow, I noticed you're a 9 today. Did something happen? And they could say, yeah, well, this made me think of my traumatic experience. Or maybe I'm a 6 today. Oh, I'm doing okay, So that's the first data tool. The second data tool is that self-assessment. So these you're only going to give twice, once at the start of sessions and once at the end of sessions. Get their name and date, encourage them to be honest, no right or wrong answer. And this is when you're going to find, how much they fit the objectives. So are they able to, identify when their traumatic experience is affecting them? Do they agree that it does not define who they are? Hopefully, they get yeses at the end on the post self-assessment, but it's great data. Any data is great data to have. And the third tool is the behavior progress monitoring form or behavior survey. So this one is not for the student. This one you're sending to parents and teachers, and they are going to fill out their perspective. And I love doing it to both parents and teachers. Sometimes it's a little hard to actually get everybody to send it back, but it's so powerful because then not only are we going to have the student's perspective, we're going to have the parent's perspective and the teacher's perspective. And we can see, are they the same? Are the parent and the teacher seeing the same thing? Are they seeing wildly different behaviors based on the setting? So this will say things like, does the student understand what he has experienced was a traumatic event? Or does the student understand the impact it has on their life? Or does the student seek support from trusted adults in their life? Lives with optimism for brighter days ahead. So they're going to answer these questions on a scale. And of course, I have for you digital versions. So here's the digital version of the self-assessment and of the behavior progress monitoring form. I do not have one of the rating scales. Those are just print only. But these are both digital, so you can, easily track the responses. And for the behavior surveys, you can even send this link to parents and teachers. It's probably easier just to send them a link and they can quickly fill it out on their phone and you can get the response rather than, sending home a paper and then waiting for it and then it coming back and then you later having to log it in as well. So that's why I love using the digital versions in Google Forms. Okay, guys, I hope you love the individual curriculum and I really hope your students find it helpful.